This is how we are together.
Sorry, I was just dissociating for.
I don't think you were. I don't think you actually were. So with the realities are is that I want to pop that right in front of your. There we go. That this is the language that organizations that receive federal funding are asked not to include. Nothing big, nothing important, nothing that's mattered significantly over the last 50 years or longer, but at least been part of our conversation, our everyday vernacular. Little words. You want to popcorn with me?
Sure.
All right, I'll read the first bullet and you can read the second. Okay. I'll read the third. Barriers.
Bias or implicit bias.
BIPOC.
Black and Latinx Hispanic minority.
Cultural differences, cultural heritage, culturally responsive, culturally competent, all of that.
Disability.
Mm-hmm. Discrimination.
Diverse backgrounds, diverse community, diversity and inclusion.
Equal opportunity, equality, equitable equity.
Ethnicity.
Gender diversity.
Inclusion, inclusiveness, and inclusivity.
Indigenous community.
Inequalities, inequality, inequitable inequities.
LGBTQ. Evidently, LGBTQ plus is fine.
Marginalized.
Minority.
Multicultural.
Prejudice.
Racial diversity, racial inequality, racial justice, racism.
Socioeconomic, social justice, sociocultural, social determinants.
Status.
Stereotypes.
Systemic.
Trauma.
Underrepresented and underserved.
Doesn't that feel nice? We've got a government that says, hey, you nonprofits, this is the stuff you can't talk about. Any way in which we commonly express our differences, right? Our dimensions of identity, that's not it. This is essentially, you are all white men. And that's fine. Your actual story doesn't matter. You all started at the same place as everyone else. And that's why we're not going to discuss disparities. We're not going to talk about barriers. We're not going to talk about diversity or the idea of inclusivity. I mean, it's fine because we are all the same. A general, white and male washing of of not just the people, right, but the way that the organizations show up for our communities. What are you thinking? What goes through your head right now? I mean, I'm seeing your expression. I know that folks can hear your sighs, but you're wearing this.
I mean, I see it every day that I've been working my internship, and I've been reading so much, and I feel like, at least in the beginning of this current administration, I hate to say the word regime, but the more that I've been reading, the more that kind of hits the same tune of what I feel like we've seen in history at different points in time. And, suppression and complacency, I think, are two words that come up a lot for me. And I think that relates back to history, relates back to diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you don't discuss the barriers that people deal with now, that people are going through to not have their needs met, if you don't discuss the history of how these barriers have evolved and shifted over time, then how are you ever going to do anything to change it?
Yeah. Liam over here is a student of history and has it's just that's a particular interest of yours, Liam.
Yeah.
And we've spoken over the last several weeks about how you've seen this before. like this sort of thing, this playbook, right? This
Yeah.
set of execution.
Yeah, it's happened a bunch in history. I
What
don't-
what has that meant for them ultimately?
what do you mean?
What happened?
Well, a lot of them got their rights taken away, and slowly but surely, like, it kind of starts with like just the language of things, and that in the sense of history. I'm not saying that's gonna happen right now or anything like that, but in history, like, a lot of the big rulers started to take away language, because just take away language, kind of take away like what people can say and think, and then slowly that becomes to like what they think, because they can't say that out loud, so that changes what they say. So then it becomes like this kind of echo chamber of the same thing over and over again, which then kind of brainwashes the newer people to an environment to believe this is the environment that's always been the case.
Yep.
Which then causes more issues, and then eventually the old forget what it was before, and the young just realizes what it is and it's always been, and then eventually it just doesn't align with what it was before, like how it was before, and societies change constantly like that. Happened in Russia, happened in Germany, happened with a few empires in history. It just happens a bunch, like. I mean, the best examples of anything like that is just like look at like the Roman Empire's different rulers, of how each reign was so different, because each ruler had a different approach to things, and how they handled it. It changed drastically each time when a new ruler came in, basically, or there was a few rulers the same, and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's all depending on really like how far these things go, and it just depends on how far the people let it go, So
That's really well said. I think it is our opportunity, right? It is a government for the people, and there have been revolts in lots of different, in lots of different methodologies, right? Have occurred in different ways to say that this is okay or this is not okay, and this is the future we want for our nation or our empire, or whatever. And at least presumably, this government is of the people for the people.
Yep.
And so while I would like that to still be the case, what we have here in this list of banned language, frankly, is dehumanizing. And you're right. That's, they show up for some folks, and instead of burning specific books, right? Here these words are being burned and blacklisted in a certain fashion. Yeah. And I think that's tough. But it provides us an opportunity to show who we are in terms of, an adversity that we need to confront. Alana, I want to introduce you. All right. We kind of like this fluid entrance Liam and I are kind of into, and I appreciate you being able to jump in. I had every faith that you would be willing and interested in jumping in. But you're a social work student, graduate student at UConn. Wrapping up. When do you plan to wrap up, or what's it look like? Yeah, I know. I don't want to put you on the spot here.
It's okay. No, I mean, if things go as according to plan and funding and society hasn't collapsed by then.
Oh goodness.
I know, really idealist way to look at it. But technically, I'm due to graduate next May.
Okay.
So I'm ending my second year. Chose to go part-time. So.
Yep.
Sticking it out for the full 3-year program. So
right on. And you have some internship opportunities that you're involved in. Are you still working with Access? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I finished with Access. So Access Community Action Agency, right, as the full organization's name. But I'll be finishing my hours with them probably by end of April, early May, just about. So.
Okay. And what is it you were doing with Access, just for the audience?
Yeah. So I was involved in the Supportive Housing for Families program. So, we really deal with intensive case management, generally with populations of family units that have active DCF involvement. So Department of Children and Families, basically, these people that have had all kinds of scenarios, substance use or domestic violence, interpersonal violence, and the state has come in and has essentially put reins on how they kind of go through life. And, there's usually a means of taking their children away at some point in time. And we're kind of that barrier. Or not barrier, but we're kind of that last step.
Right.
You figure almost like in collaboration, but I feel like the longer that I've been working for the program, the more I even realize that, even though we act as a liaison with DCF, a lot of the funding agency, that's pretty much all of the funding they receive is federal for our program to survive. And, I never had a good opinion about DCF, I guess, kind of before going into the program. I know we always kind of look at them as the bad guys. And, the unfortunate truth is I've met some caseworkers through their programming that are honestly incredibly wholesome and I think ultimately want the best for the clients, but
Right.
I've seen the same on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
People who it kind of seems like their only goal is, it's kind of masked under the lens of, protecting the well-being and quality of life of these children. But at the same time, it's made me wonder the motivation to, I think, a lot of social programming that we have put in place for whole family units.
Yeah. And what a dicey thing. I think it's a very sensitive area, parenting. I think it's a very easy area to get wrong. In so many ways. And it's also an area where I think a high level of cultural understanding is absolutely critical to getting this right. Because there is no playbook around parenting. And, families are going to use what they know, use what they learned in growing up, and doing the best that they can in parenting. And life is challenging, increasingly so. Under a number of different metrics, if you want to look at the cost of living versus the average wage, that just sort of tells the story, right? What it costs to live and survive in this world, and what is easily attainable in terms of earning. That gap keeps widening, and so families under this increasing financial pressure, and so I don't know. Having not ever worked in supportive housing. But I can imagine that finances are a huge piece of that equation.
Yeah. Even just through the course of my year there, and you figure I say year, but it's really, it's abbreviated to the academic calendar. So, even my very brief time there from September on, we've seen drastic changes to programming, to funding. And, I know that access isn't the only one. I think of all of these federal agencies that are kind of held under that precedence of, you need to consider and toe the company line when society shouldn't really be thought of as a business.
Yeah, right.
And even then, in the beginning, when I started, a lot of the ideologies that I had been taught and trained in the beginning were based around, HUD, another big government agency, and they're based in the Housing First model.
Right.
And, that's what you would think stability and autonomy comes from. Someone having a roof over their head is the first way that their needs can really be met. And for them to reach their own independence,
Right.
and
that
even
stability can be established.
Yeah,
keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Get excited
and even,
about it.
And even now, we've transitioned from HUD's model, which I did a few webinars in the beginning of the year through some of the higher level senior leadership, and now all of a sudden the funding agency is coming down and saying, well, we need to focus on intensive case management. We have to draw the focus away. We can't promise housing subsidy on acceptance into the program. And that was a really serious meeting that senior leadership had with the leaders of our funding agency. And I
Right.
mean, the unfortunate truth is, I mean, how can you say no when they're the ones that are paying for all of the contracted employees through the programming, when they're the ones that are footing the bill for the subsidies for any additional programming that they're involved in, the
Right.
clients. And, sure, I've heard kind of mixed feelings about how, that's how it was supposed to be from the beginning, but they, need a serious rebrand, essentially, on how they view it. And I don't know. I mean, it's really put things into perspective for me. I feel like, here is this organization where we're supposed to be the last resort for these people, but I'm supposed to come into it and say, okay, let's sit down, do your budget, get you a job, find you some transportation, and then maybe you'll have a roof over your head when you've been at risk or actively unhoused for an extended period of time and you don't have your children. I mean, it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah. Counterintuitive wouldn't begin to describe it for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so why did you get into public health and trauma care, though?
Boy.
Is that like something to do with it a lot of time?
I think it was rooted in kind of global change, or my interest in global change. I think if anything, that's strengthened tenfold with everything that's happening right now. I know I was never someone that I thought would really even get involved in advocacy or policy reform. I really was like, I mean, I don't know. I guess if I go back probably longer than I'd like to admit to my undergraduate, which, was a pretty significant gap in time, spent about 10 years in hard knocks, right?
It was the required time. It's what Alana needed.
Yes.
Right. Go from undergrad. Because I did essentially the same thing, about 15 years between grad and undergrad. So keep going.
I mean, it's good to know because, I mean, I don't know if it's intentional for UConn, but I know I'm few and far between when it comes to people who have had kind of an extended period of time in between undergraduate and graduate. And I think that changed my perspective a little bit, too. I mean, originally I thought I was going to be going into psychology and getting my PsyD. I mean, I had big dreams at that point. I mean, you go even farther. I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. I mean, life throws you curveballs. I changed my major a bunch in undergrad. So, a lot of change happened at that point. But I always kind of knew I was driven for people. And I just didn't know kind of where I fit in that mold. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of, going back to right before, I mean, I spent a bunch of time at UMass Chan at one of the teaching hospitals out in Worcester, Mass.
Oh, nice.
And we did a couple of models. I mean, I basically was a glorified fake patient.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a cool thing that I
A
was involved
glorified
in.
fake police. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. The technical term was a standardized patient.
I see.
Or standardized patient actor. I mean, I have a bunch of time under my belt performing and being behind the scenes for performance.
I didn't know this about you. This is
Yeah,
outstanding.
I mean, listen, there's some Easter eggs. The more you get to know me, the more I think you'll learn that there's more than meets the eye on the surface.
Well, I knew that. But I'm delighted with this Easter egg because I mean it's very unexpected.
Yeah.
Right. But like Easter eggs and the season and it's you and your hair. I mean, it all comes together. It's fantastic. Listeners at home, Alana has deliciously pink hair. It's so fun. It made it very easy to spot you out in the lot. So I'm so excited to have you here. Just to backtrack for a minute, our background has to do with the trainings that I was doing at Access around trauma-informed care. And you very generously came up afterwards and said, I like what you're doing. And you were a super participant as well. And let's continue the conversation. And so in continuing that conversation, here you are. Super stoked to have you. what a time.
Yeah.
What an amazing time. Like I couldn't even introduce you because we're so into talking about what's happening here and finding an audience and finding folks that you can discourse about this with. This ORBs podcast is about discourse, right? We're not here to vilify anyone. We're not here to look at one perspective only, but we are here to discuss what it takes for us as human beings to establish and find a place of resilience in our lives and feel as though we belong. And so while I didn't intend for that conversation to be polarizing, I guess it is. And, and so episode 1, as you listened to, I think, was about how a community comes together to protect its own and show up for its young. What can I say other than a third of our lives are spent in these work environments that so often we hear are unproductive, are unsafe, unfulfilling. They don't validate us as human beings, and that is what I want organizations to understand, and understand that they have options around that. Just because of the way that things were done, it doesn't mean that things need to be continually done that way, and that skills can be developed at the upper echelons and, of course, at the front for the frontline staff to build a sense of community, and that this hits the bottom line, right? This is a cost reduction, right? It's an opportunity for them to hold on to critical talent, hold on to that institutional knowledge, right? And all that aside, right? If we need to talk about numbers, that's fine. And at the end of the day, it's going to help out with hiring too, right? Because if you've got great employees, they're going to attract like. But really, secretly, it's the best thing to be humanizing and treat other people as humans. And so...
Is it a secret, though?
I mean, if that puts you off from having the conversation, I'm going to come in with the profit piece, right? Like, how do we hit the bottom line? Oh, well, our hiring procedures will be more effective. We'll be able to retain talent. We'll be able to be more profitable by reducing costs around training, retention, and we'll have better, partnership engagement, stakeholder relationships, et cetera, and so forth.
Oh my God, that was some good business speak.
Oh man,
right
I've been working on it for a while. Thank you very much. But it's the truth of what I feel. I mean, this is, I went and got my MBA because I felt as though education could be done differently. And I felt as though the way that changing education in these United States and in the world could happen more effectively from an outside perspective. I saw what the EDD offered, and it just felt like indoctrination, frankly. And, and all of my respect to administrators, right? Liam's dad's a superintendent of schools, has worked up through the ranks as a teacher, principal, et cetera. My hat is absolutely off. And yet they operate within a system that does not recognize some critical pieces, right? The housing first model is a great example, right? Once we have, if this standard can be met, then our ability to educate is much higher. And so that's what I want to have conversations about. That's what this podcast is about. Liam's a fantastic contributor to everything that I've thrown at him, and I'm so delighted to have you as our first guest.
Woo!
This is episode 5.
It would be 5. I gotta. I'm posting the other one today.
That's
so.
not. I wasn't trying to. Yep. That's
no,
perfect.
I'm saying today would be 4 when it gets posted, and I think this will be 5.
Excellent.
Cue the confetti on the soundboard.
Absolutely, it's all over.
We don't have that in the budget.
Oh yeah, it's okay. I know. In talking about numbers, right?
That's
the best I can do.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all we need.
Yeah,
that's all we want.
I edit this and it's not happening. But.
No, that's not the spirit of our podcast. Yeah. Anyway, but it is exciting, man, and I'm super stoked to have you here.
Yeah,
you are amongst dog lovers. So as someone who is pursuing veterinary, I know you have dogs. This young man is going to get a dog for graduation.
Oh, I was supposed to.
Yeah.
It didn't work out like that.
Yeah. I am.
Well, I mean, okay, so to give a little context, my wife and partner, back when I first started graduate school, I was told my graduation present would bark. So this was toward the end of last year, last academic year for me. Then cue like a month and a half after, fall on my ass, bust my ankle real bad. I'm posted up. All of a sudden, I'm not even better yet, and a dog just shows up.
Yeah.
Like in my driveway, lady pulls up, says, "Hi, I found this dog, and I saved him from traffic, and he just jumped in my car when I opened the door. Do you know where he came from?" And I had no idea. Weirdly enough, I'd literally saved other neighbors' dogs from getting hit in traffic. I mean, farm town, right?
Yeah,
We were
right.
talking quiet corner before this, so
Woodstock's beautiful.
yeah. But you have a lot of that old school mentality of my dog doesn't need a leader, and they're free. They go, they come back. That's fine. So.
Well, but that's the townie perspective. What
Oh,
about
yeah.
the people out of town who are driving through? Oh, Woodstock, this little, and let me just speed through. And so on these state routes, they just could give a care, right?
On a
So
main road,
it's-
that's
it means a lot of doggy disasters, and I'm not happy about that.
No.
Cars took all of my dogs,
ugh.
and it honestly put me off of driving for a little bit when I was a youngster.
I mean, honestly, so in and amongst my hard knock time, I spent a couple of years doing professional dog training.
Nice.
Another Easter egg, right?
There you go.
What?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I need to get my dog trained. when I get
see, but you know the difference. I guess the life lesson that I am learning actively now, because we've had that driveway puppy for it'll be a year in July, which I don't know if you remember. It was also the insane heat wave that we'd had for the summer, so we had no AC. So I felt bad because that period we had about a week him in the shelter. Old owner reached out, going through some hard circumstances, and who am I to say, oh, well, I'm not going to take this dog that I saved and spent 5 hours with this day. So all it took was the one picture, though. My wife was like, oh, all right, I guess we're going to have a dog now. And he was still a puppy. I don't know. Dogs are always puppies to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter old, young, big, small. They're all just puppies.
Sure.
But the thing that's been a lesson for me is in now having a dog. He's my first ever. But I was one of those kids. I didn't much care for babysitting.
Yeah.
I'd much rather take care of all my neighbors' animals, do the dog walking, the pet sitting. I'm like, need me to feed your bird and clean the cage and then walk your dog? I gotcha. So that was kind of where I fell in growing up, and that's how I fell into training is, I'd already helped friends in just my own self-teaching. And then I was like, oh, shoot. Well, weirdly enough, my cousin's dog bit my face, and that was my motivator after healing to go, you know what? This was a situation that I think very easily could have been avoided. So how can I take that as you talk about resiliency and adversarial growth?
Right.
I mean, that was my lesson as I was like, you know what? This could have been avoided. So now I want to work with dogs that have aggression and reactivity issues and also still do the hiking and the training and, all of that and the pet sitting. But
You had that thought at what age?
20. I was like late 20s at that point.
You were late 20s when you got bit in the face?
Yeah, I would have
okay.
been, if that, 6 years. How old am I? Yeah, I would have been mid 20s. Sorry, mid 20s. Life is a whirlwind.
No one's doing an audit. I just wondered.
Yeah, 20. I
mid-20s,
believe
okay.
mid 20s.
All right. I've seen you as wise beyond your years, and that your brain was perhaps fully formed at that point. It doesn't surprise me, but I wondered. We talk a lot about personal responsibility.
Yep.
And and so just to hear this, look, I'm going to continue. I don't care that I got bit in the face. I'm going to continue to engage with dogs intentionally, animals intentionally. You, I think, recognize how critical they are to our ecosystem as humans, and you wanted to provide value in whatever way you could by getting trained, by understanding how to work with dogs, and reduce the likelihood that your face get bit again,
Exactly.
and the faces of others.
Granted, there were some scuffles here and there, some some dogs that had to get pulled apart, some really ugly situations, some times where one of my teachers, one of my professors, actually, I always forget the names of the people with the concepts, but I remember the concepts for what they are.
That's important.
But we did a lot of talk, and even still do a lot of talk when it comes to zones of reality and existence. And you figure you start with your comfort zone, you go into your stretch zone, which really is that means of growth.
Yep.
But there is still a danger zone. And
Yeah.
so, that being said, I definitely had some points where I personally felt unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have been different because of the situation, the experience that I'd had on a personal level. But I think mostly it was just my way to kind of stretch into that new part of myself. I mean, I didn't know growing up, loving animals as much as I did, I didn't want to lose that piece of myself.
Right on. That's beautiful. Well, I'm glad. Damn.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, going back a little bit to what Ian was saying about like resilience and belonging. Like, how would you define that in yourself or for yourself? And do you think a lot of organizations nowadays are believing in that more often from your perspective, or not so?
That's a really good question.
Not to like change topics, like.
No, totally cool. I mean, it's a through line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, hey, changing course is always kind of something you need to accept in life, right? Let alone the podcast, too, right?
How socially agile are you? Okay, here goes.
Oh, well, there was a point in time where a friend that I believed to be very gregariously extroverted told me I was a social chameleon. And that was definitely one of those moments for me where I went, being able to change topic on a dime, that's kind of an interesting concept.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, but you handle it very well. And Liam just wanted to lob one over to you. So
Sorry.
Yeah, so
What do you
no,
see
you're
in the
okay.
workplaces now?
So what does resilience and
You're doing
belonging
great.
mean to me, right? Is the
Right on.
first
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
question.
And where do you see it in the workplace?
Yeah.
Jeez. So, I mean, you can't see it, but I do have a tattoo that I got. It's one of the first that I got in my ongoing saga, I guess.
I got a bunch.
Yeah, and
Your body is a canvas.
I know. I was gonna say it's a canvas, and for me, it's literally messaging because otherwise, I would forget where all of my shit is, and it's just never a failure, always a lesson.
Yep.
I don't know who said it, but I know it's something that has kind of always resonated with me in just a really profound way.
That's
And
beautiful.
I feel like that is the way that you come out of adversity. That is the way that you then grow from these really shitty situations that you end up in.
Right.
Like how, if I continually victimize myself and just say, oh man, like that's the worst. Like if I'm sitting there every situation and looking only at the negative and getting stuck in that place, you literally are stuck. Like these, like literally in a lot of what I've learned is they are called stuck zones.
Yeah.
And I think there's good reason. It's very aptly named. And I think resiliency is essentially rooted in, how I mentioned the adversarial growth of how you end up learning from those moments that seem really heavy, seem really low, what you make of them and put them toward your future.
It's change talk versus sustain talk.
Exactly.
And the critical nature of how we language to ourselves, how we communicate to ourselves. Every time you look in the mirror and you see your right forearm, I don't know how great your vantage point is on your forearm there where that tattoo is, right? But it's there. It's there to remind you, to land for you. And you've got other messages to yourself, which is essentially what your tattoos are, right? Who gets to see your body more than your partner, right? You. And these are reminders of, symbols that mean something or indicate a story or remind you of a lesson, right? that you no longer want to forget. And so
Yeah.
you've made it permanent on your flesh. And I just think that's such a beautiful choice for oneself. I don't have any tattoos, but there are other ways in which I lean into visualization. Lots of pictures of my kids and things that I value on my phone, for instance, right? And keeping that around and in my space. But just to come back to the critical nature of self-talk, I can lean into that victimization based on what has happened to me, or I can say I can learn from this, and and so the same applies. Just to bring it back to organizations, you don't have to get it right all the time. No. You have to be open to learning, though, because if you're committed to staying the same, you're going to make the same mistakes.
Yes.
Right, and in making those same mistakes, you're missing out on. Yes, the bottom line, but then also, right, the human opportunity that is present and enriching the relationships that you have with the people that you serve, the people that you partner with, all of your stakeholders, frankly. And so I love this. We first met through those trainings, right? And I guess I want to weave a couple things together. Were there any words in that list that I didn't cover in the trauma-informed training? Like, oh, that's a new one, right? And I'm sure they were all familiar to you through your studies and through your life experience. Set that question aside because it's silly. What was it that drew you to the work and really sort of spoke to you about, because you've had trainings, you've been in the room, you've had your life experience again, you're studying social work at a graduate level and working in it. What resonated with you about the trainings or about, I don't know, about those events?
I guess when I look at society as a whole, especially as of late, the real thing that I feel like we've disconnected from is that sense of community. And I feel very adamantly that is also part of the ploy of what's happening right now politically. Is like how disillusioned can we make the greater good to not realize that we are stripping rights away actively every single day. And I think that's what I really appreciated about those workshops was you have people that are all there on a capacity to help. And I know that's something that you had even brought up a few points too of, how resiliency and self-care is important in those environments when you're dealing with people that all you want to do is help, but you still need to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
And how do you get there? And a lot of that really is just being able to find that balance between what you're passionate about professionally, what you're passionate about personally, and just kind of juggling between the two, but being able to check in with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's why I really enjoyed a lot of those trainings too, because a lot of it really did kind of boil down to checking in with yourself and then being able to more effectively check in with your clients, with your people that are part of, I hate to use one of those IDEA words, but check in.
No, please do.
With, I could not tell you, but like the mission, part of the mission statement of Access as an organization, as an NGO, is involved in finding autonomy and independence and stability within underserved communities.
Right.
And, I don't know, I feel so strongly that really is where our focus needs to be. But when it's under the lens of bottom lines and stakeholders and how we can gain the most capital for putting in the least amount of man hours, it just doesn't add up. Right.
We had an event here in town recently. I don't know if you heard about it. There was a visiting nurse, coming to a household, right, doing a home visit, and the occupant killed her. And so here's someone out in community, right, doing some very challenging care work, and Right, and just losing her life as a result of that. And I can't help but remember a time when, as a youth, I was told, hey, the buddy system is best for safety, right? Travel with a buddy. If you're walking around at night, if you're someplace unfamiliar, have a buddy with you. Why did we get away from that in home visits? Why is that not common practice? Right? You think I'm looking at classrooms now, and in classroom management, you'll have a paraeducator there or an assistant educator in the room just to facilitate those, behavioral issues or to assist with instruction to make sure that everyone's on task. And in terms of home care, in terms of house visiting, and even in terms of client engagements, how the difference between safe and unsafe can really just be that other person in the room.
Yeah.
And yet, where does that go? Well, it's seen as a redundancy. It's seen as an inefficiency to have that person. Well, we're paying for this person's hours. Yes, of course you are. And if safety is not the first priority, what do you really have?
Yeah.
You're standing on quicksand in this work. It won't be sustainable, right? Too many of those events occur, and nurses will not be open to going to visits, right? CHD community health workers will not be open to making house visits to, help folks who might have transportation challenges. Everything might be fine with them, but there's not the level of safety that they feel as though they can do this work sustainably. Yeah. And so then a critical safety net for our communities is now gone. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's the only eventual conclusion. So reestablishing that is absolutely critical. I'm glad that you were able to enjoy those trainings. Were there other points that you felt really spoke to you? Like the community piece it's just foundational.
Yeah.
Right. Belonging is everything to me. I read it with a capital B. Making sure that folks feel welcome and empowered and validated to the same level of everyone else around them. I don't know. It just should be. Yeah. And yet we have this language, we have this administrative practice to say, or, from the federal administration, that this language and being able to talk about it is not okay. Right? Belonging actually is not in the list. Right, and Northeastern, in light of this executive order, has moved their conversation to belonging. So either belonging is fine, which it isn't if we're not able to talk about these things in practice, or it's going to end up on the ban list soon. So I'm excited to that. I'm excited for the moments when every word and even the existence of the Organizations of Resilience and Belonging, ORBs podcast, even mentioning that is banned language.
I mean, I think it's really easy when the rhetoric is all surrounded by propaganda, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, the messaging that's being put forth, right? I mean, if your whole goal is to create divisiveness, I think making anything that has to do with something other than yourself,
right?
I mean, that's kind of the natural course of where that leads. I mean,
right.
Kind of like the talk of history. I mean, I've looked at so many videos. I've read so much. I mean, growing up, I had to go to the Holocaust museums.
Sure. Well, had to? What do you mean?
Well, I'm Jewish, technically. Well,
wait, let me check the list. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, oh wait, hold on. I don't know. Am I allowed to say?
No. So you had to, like your family brought you to the Holocaust.
Yeah. So I was raised. Granted, my parents were on the more. I mean, technically, Reform is what we were called as like a sect of Judaism, which really just means that like it was one of the least strict forms of Judaism. Sure. So, bacon cheeseburgers in my house were fine.
Okay.
Which is a thing. And, there weren't really too many rules we had to follow. It's not like, I had friends where I forget the name, but, you have to be the person to show up as normally a non-Jew, but for me a lesser Jew, to turn on and off lights and appliances and things during Sabbath
Okay.
when you're more religious. So
That's the practice of the shiksa, to turn those things off when, because you're not really Jewish?
anyone.
It's
Well, I guess it's technically viewed as like goyim.
goyim.
Yeah, goyim, right? The
But I
goy.
thought the
You
female
need
were
to
shiksa.
you need to have the goy who
Yeah.
turns the light on
Yeah,
and
yeah,
off,
yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That's fantastic.
Because they are not to interact at all with any
Right.
form of technology
Right.
during that time,
Right.
because it's rest. Like that is the rest.
That would be work.
Even writing, driving.
Uh-huh.
All of it is work.
Yeah, sure.
Which I understood, but yeah, I was that kid in some of my friends' households to turn the lights on and off. Granted, I got a free
Have the
dinner
goy
out of
turn
it.
off the lights.
Yeah,
That's
I got
outstanding.
a free Shabbat dinner out of it, so there were some perks on my end
Oh,
as
no,
well. It was definitely a quid pro quo, I guess.
Shabbat dinner is worth it.
Yeah.
That is the stuff. Love it.
Shoot, I forget how we were getting around to this.
Belonging? I don't know.
Belonging. And I mean, I guess I think of community too. And like,
Yeah.
I grew up in a very Jewish area. And so that's why when I say I had to go to the Holocaust Museum, I mean, it was just like part of
Yeah.
me being involved in that community growing up.
Right.
And we had to learn about all of these things. We had to learn about, the Third Reich of Germany and how it all came about. But what I think is funny is the thing that they didn't teach me in Jewish school and or Hebrew school when I was going through really came down to how it started. It was all about what happened and the atrocity, but not about the precursors.
Right.
And I think that's really what I've been ruminating a lot on lately, in that I have friends of mine who still, I mean, again, I am Jewish by ethnicity as well. A lot of my family comes back to Ashkenazi relations of, like literal bloodline, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But, even though that's such a big part of me religiously, it's kind of fallen short. And I think culturally, we've really taken a step back from what those atrocities looked like before they were atrocities, right? And I have friends, I have community from back home where I grew up that are very much, again, like you said, it's not so much the right or the wrong side, but I think after whatever we are actively going through now, I already foresee there being a lot of shame and regret. And that puts a really big weight on my own conscience, because I don't want to think of, oh, well, these people are going to really regret not doing something because of, not being involved in community, not being a part of collective action. But I think now really is the time to step up as a community, as a collective toward a better future. And I just can't, I guess, again, the one thing that I've had trouble wrapping my head around is that I have Holocaust survivors in my family. I have a lot of people that I knew growing up who have Holocaust survivors in their family.
Sure.
But granted, pretty much all of them now are gone, right?
Yeah.
Just given the timing of things.
Right.
And so their stories aren't even really being looked at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a critical way. And it just makes me wonder if some of those ancestors were here.
Yep.
I feel like they all would be kicking and screaming.
Are we in some ways living last century?
Very much so. That's and that's
I can't
that's
shake
why
those
I
parallels.
reference it.
Yeah, right.
It's like I've drawn so many comparisons to the precursors, some of the rhetoric, some of the propaganda that we saw in Europe at that point in time. The only difference is now, I mean, look at what we're doing now, right? Like, it's so much easier to put information out there.
Right.
And I mean, even just like the week or two ago, where we had someone that was on the congressional floor that was censured by their own, not constituents, by their own members.
Mm-hmm.
Within Congress, there were people that said, oh, well, this person isn't towing the company line, so they can't speak out anymore against what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what we saw 100 years ago.
Right.
And
But then the precursor to that, right? So we have this administration in power now,
what brought the Third Reich into power? If we're just to look at the parallels there, and I recognize the demonizing nature
Yes.
of making that comparison. All right, but just to understand your parallel, just to sort of work it through. You're talking about the precursors. What led to that? What led to the Third Reich rising to power, right? And maybe what happened from your perspective at the end of the First World War, and the pressures that were placed on Germany.
I think it was the pressures having to rebuild, and then you figure economically, I mean, they weren't at a point where they weren't able to, they weren't able to advance and come back the way that they had anticipated. So then you have civil unrest with the community, and then all it takes is a scapegoat.
Yeah.
The only awful thing now is before it really, yes, it might have been generalized, but I think it was still very specific in the population they were ostracizing. Meanwhile, now I think it's like we've taken this concept of othering,
Which it is.
and blown it
Yeah.
to literally, like you said,
Yeah.
like anyone that is not a white.
Oh my God!
Male.
There are Puerto Ricans, right, who, by virtue of their speaking Spanish in public, have been collected by ICE agents, right, and then interrogated, right? Where's your paperwork? As a U.S. citizen, I don't carry around my documentation all the time. I don't have my birth certificate and my passport on me, right? I don't have to worry about that because I'm pale enough. And yet these events are occurring, right? And not only that, but so many of the BIPOC community do work in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And so you have this dark skin on dark skin style crime occurring where we know the profiling's happening. The profiling is what's being used to find the folks who should otherwise not be in this country.
Yeah. I mean, they had to put out a bulletin at Access. This was about a month and a half, 2 months ago, when things first started getting bad with ICE being kind of thrown out into the community, because they did show up to one of the mobile food pantry sites.
Great.
So you say profiling. I mean, come on. They're literally trying to target people that already aren't really coming from a whole lot and are probably struggling to some degree. And saying, oh, well, we're definitely going to find some people that we can take away from this. And completely excluding what potential literal human rights those people might have in those environments and those settings.
You say the food pantry?
Yeah, the mobile food pantry.
Yeah.
I think it was actually the Willimantic location. And they had to put out a bulletin to all staff to basically outline these are the rights that people that go and find these resources have. This is what you can do as a care provider, as a service provider. And to me, it's almost disheartening that even had to be a message that was blown through the entire organization. Like, that shouldn't have to be standard procedure, standard operating procedure.
But these are unprecedented times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the piece of it. And but unprecedented and yet familiar.
Yeah.
Just what you're saying. Like, we've seen this before. We've seen this stuff before. And again, I'm not trying to make this a political piece. But I care about community. I care about belonging, right? And I think the more we have of that, the safer we are. And so where there's equity in the right to exist, then we have a safer world, a world wherein we can have really rich conversations. And what's been exciting to me, and I shared with Liam a couple articles, we talked about them last week, where corporations are standing up to this.
Yeah.
Corporations are saying, DAI is something that matters to us. This is an initiative that we're going to continue with. Apple, Deutsche Bank, I forget a third one. And so these are big players, right? Big financial players. And what's more is, I think that's the constituency of this administration. If this administration has said anything to us in terms of who they care about listening to, it's been that. Right? What are the corporate world leaders doing? I remember Trump's first go, and he convened a panel of tech leaders, and that's what he was pulling them together. I think it ran from from February until about May, and they were pulling together every week to I don't know, talk about the fate of the world. I don't know. But it seemed that after a while, every week, people were dropping off and fading off, and this isn't a table I want to be at. This isn't something I want to associate with. I mean, you can look back at this. And Tim Cook, interestingly, so the CEO of Apple, publicly gay, and was in a feud with Mike Pence prior to the election because Mike Pence was in Indiana, and Mike Pence was doing all this homophobic sort of rhetoric. He's like, Indiana's going to be straight. I don't know. And Tim Cook said, okay, so we'll just pull Apple out of Indiana, right? And the backlash on that, and then Mike Pence. But anyway, but now he's a VP. Mike Pence is a VP. Tim Cook's still CEO of Apple. And he was interviewed famously for being asked, like, why are you still at this table? I mean, Mike Pence is the VP. I mean, this is obviously, there's, your lifestyle is actively challenged by this administration, and yet you still show up. And he says, if I step away from this table, I will have no opportunity to change the course of this administration. Right? I will have no opportunity to have a voice. So at least I'm here. Yeah. And as far as I knew, he stuck it out about as long as anyone did, right, until the thing was disbanded and, public, it was seen as the fiasco and farce that it ended up being. But that stance of, if I don't stand up, who's gonna?
Yeah.
And I know that my voice needs to be heard, and despite the environment and despite how challenging this might be and any adversarial behavior, right, there's an opportunity for me to learn and contribute here. And that was Tim Cook. And I've been an Apple fan since way long before that. But I'm not always a CEO fan. And for Tim Cook to continue to stay the line with the DEI initiatives and, as one of the largest companies in the world, right, besides Amazon, it's just a monster. You got a big bat, Tim Cook. And
I was just gonna say, I have a newfound respect now that I didn't know existed for that. Because I feel similarly when it comes to the CEOs, right? Although one person that I've been reading about a lot lately is he's the CEO and founder of Neurovigil. So he's essentially
I don't know what that is.
So it's essentially its own version of like the implantable chips, like the brain implant chips.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, the guy is an actual neuroscientist. He has an MD. He's got a whole bunch of letters after his name.
Well, that's what matters, after all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's what I'm going for.
I mean, I got 7.
I was going to say, I don't even have any right now. Well, I guess technically the bachelor's counts for something. But
yeah.
But the goal is to just increase the amount of letters after my name. I mean,
Obviously.
That's, who doesn't want it? I think that is its own validation in a way, right? Mm-hmm. But no, he's got the letters, and honestly, he's been someone I think that has really, kind of similarly to Tim Cook, who has kind of gone against what we viewed as this universal voice coming from the corporate world. He's spoken out a lot, and he actually has a lot of history with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They went back like over a decade, and he actually, like, Elon apparently was initially a big stakeholder, and I believe it was like a director. He had a big point of interest in his company,
right,
and got fired basically for kind of pulling some strings and kind of involving himself in funds that he wasn't supposed to.
Okay.
In the role that he'd had. And so now you have someone who he did initially respect him, and all it took was that scenario to happen, and ties were broken. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the first people that was put under fire through him on Twitter because of his old involvement and him speaking out and saying, listen, you guys are talking about someone who you think is an expert in all of these things.
Right.
I am an expert, and I'm telling you, he is an expert of none.
Right.
And, again, that's just, I feel like we don't see that from enough presence in the corporate world. Because you figure, realistically, they're the ones that are running everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's precisely it. It's these corporate interests, these huge governmental interests that seem to hold sway, right? How else would you explain the way that Zelensky was dressed down? I mean, it was utter disrespect.
Yeah.
I don't want to get off on that. I'm sorry. I don't want to head down that route.
Yeah.
Because it's while we're talking about things that happen politically and through this administration, our personal responsibility is the piece I want to come back to.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's critical I want to bring up the Nimmler quote. This is, I know you know this, I use this in the training, right? But first they came for the socialists. And I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists. And I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. And I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak for me. Yeah. Martin Nimmler. Now, a lot of folks can hear this and resonate, right? I've been that person to stay silent when something was happening I could draw the other barrier. Oh, that's not happening to me. Shh. Oh, they're outside. Shh. They believe differently than me. Shh. Right? The piece that resonates here with me now is that I did not speak out. That's the personal accountability. I had an opportunity and I didn't take it. And the hero of the minute right here, Tim Cook, right? Taking that opportunity to speak out. We have, I think in a lot of ways, that's what I hope to do. Is empower and embolden others to speak out and speak their truth, and at least know that they belong here, right? They belong in the space around me, and I think I was able to foster that with you. That's why you came up and spoke with me afterwards, and we've been able to continue this conversation so richly. I want to get your impressions of the first podcast as you listen to it. This is completely selfless, right? This is in no way serving my own interest.
Tell them how good we are.
That's right. So basically, enough about the world. Let's talk about me. No, but I do want to discuss going back to the first episode. We got a piece of fan mail, and from Kathleen Kreider, whom you know, right? And I shared with you the audio. She doesn't have Spotify. She's famously like tech allergic. But she is an outstanding individual. Getting to know her, like if anyone wants to hear about Kathleen, I will gush about her for hours. But she wrote this. Hey, hi. I think some of your basic facts are incorrect. Like ICE is not going where they're not legally allowed to go, and at least publicly, Kimberly Clark from Covenant Soup Kitchen has said that the raid did not take place in the kitchen, but rather outside, and the person in question was not a guest. This could all be a clever smokescreen. Okay, her words. And some of that isn't the point. ICE was in Willimantic. Some folks were detained, arrested, and being correct is still important. And so I just need to publicly own that, right? When we did the first podcast, things were fresh. It was, I got, so you heard the episode, but just as a refresh for folks, I got a text, I got involved. And the text just said, hey, down at the soup kitchen, someone was detained. And I'm certain that I took in the podcast, I took those facts and what I heard and ran with them. And so in the spirit of being completely transparent,
you listened to it, right? The first episode?
Not in its entirety, but I did listen to most of it.
I don't remember what I said, but I don't know if I said as well, like we have to wait for more information or something like that. But I don't know.
You probably did.
I don't remember.
Liam's often the voice of reason. So That's really
Yeah.
important. But just that I appreciate that this feedback's out there, and if anyone's got any glows or grows for us, we are super open to hearing it. And I just wanted to own this publicly on the air. And then she goes on to attach some good resources around advocacy for Grow Wyndham. Vanya over at Grow Wyndham is organizing around this and gathering information so that folks are informed. And so here I have a resource so that I can learn more. And Kathleen wraps by saying, thanks for sharing and caring. Smiley face. Enjoy. Okay. And so I was just really delighted to have this piece of feedback.
Yeah.
Right. And of course I want to own that on the air. And another piece of feedback I got in text.
Yep.
Excuse me. This came from Taylor.
You want to read it?
You want to read it?
Do you want me to read it?
I would love for you to read it.
Okay,
Let's
I
hear
have it in
enough
front
of
of
me.
me.
I was gonna say, I see that you're rummaging through something on there.
I just been pulling up all the stuff he sent me. It says a text from Taylor. I like the friendship podcast. Your friend isn't wrong to want to see the good and trust in people. People like me are inherently genuine and kind. I think that's why you think I'm chill. But he's right. A lot of people are shallow and consider what's best for them over you.
Right.
Tell your friend he's unique. I don't know why he's doubting that he's a king or queen or whatever he wants to be. Don't doubt that like ever. 100% emoji, flame, heart emoji.
So I'm glad that you could read the fan mail, which is really just about you. It's basically
is it about
Taylor
me?
flirting with you big time. Did you read that? Yeah,
Is it
absolutely.
me?
It's you. She's
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about you.
I don't remember half the stuff.
Yeah, it was. So that is the one that I was actually I started yesterday and finished it on my way here.
Oh, really?
So that is definitely about you.
What
The
did I
Most
say?
definitely.
The
What were we talking
situation.
about? I record so many podcasts, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna be so straight up. I don't.
That's okay.
I don't like. He knows. I do.
Audience,
like,
you matter to Liam. Don't be fooled by his words.
no, I care. I forget everything. I record this one with you, and then I record two others with
Right, with
Kiskin,
Kiskin,
on my
yeah.
own, and then I record another one with someone else.
Yeah.
And I am so busy doing like public speaking stuff and all that stuff. So if I ever forget what I say, it's not that I'm like, I didn't say that. It's like, no, I don't remember if I said it or not.
You're like, wait, which one was that?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, like you just give me like the time stamp and the date.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yeah, I probably said that.
Well, it's got to be episode. It's got to be episode 2 because I
Okay.
don't think 3 and 4 are published. Right? They're not public yet, and I'm not sharing
No,
audio.
it was
that
just 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
so 3's not up.
3's
No.
not up.
Okay, so 3's coming up, and this is 4.
Okay, I think we have.
I
We'll
could be
figure it out,
wrong.
Liam.
Yeah.
We will figure it out.
We will figure it out.
But she's talking about the friendship and belonging one. The one we talked about, love and friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask the question of myself and the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have the capacity to love someone who I am so vehemently in opposition to from a paradigm and value standpoint? And you talked about how your circle of friends includes some folks who really prioritize their own needs over yours.
Yeah.
And so you were vocal
Yeah.
about that challenge and how that feels. And there's Taylor in support of you, right?
Thanks, Taylor. I will listen to the episode and hear what I said. I feel bad because I was reading. I was like, it's probably him, right? Or
No,
someone
your
else.
friend. It's a text message to me. Your
Yeah,
friend.
I wasn't
Right.
even processing. I was just reading it.
You just have to put it back into context for yourself.
Yeah, like I don't.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right. I mean, I was a little bit tickled when you wanted to read it, and I was like, "Oh, this will be fun." But you didn't
no,
realize that
I
was
didn't even
for
know.
you.
I just was like, because I was gonna read because I had it in front of me.
Yeah.
I was gonna read it because I was gonna segue into when you guys are done, but then you segued into it because I was gonna read the whole thing, and then I was like, "Do you want me to?" Because I haven't spoken in a while, so
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just trying to, let you be present where you are.
Oh, I know. I
But
just want to make sure people know I'm still here.
Got it.
He is, in
Got
fact, not asleep behind the
yeah.
board.
it. Liam is ready to go, Alana.
Yeah.
So I would like to shift the focus to you, Liam.
Oh
if I
man,
may.
what am I doing?
I would
now?
pass you the mic, but you already have one in front of you.
Yeah, what am I doing now?
But I mean, you were just pointing out that you hadn't spoken in a while. I guess that's
wasn't,
totally
it wasn't,
fair.
It wasn't a sly comment or anything.
No.
It was just like I just want.
No, it's an honest an honest observation. And I think it's a little bit unfair to you in this dynamic because Alana and I have been talking about this for a long time.
Oh, yeah, dude, it doesn't. I'm not upset if I'm not even spoken a while. If that.
No.
Okay.
But
Cool.
but I think just like Taylor's Taylor's feedback offers us, right? There are people in the listener base, right? As shallow as it may be at this point, right? Who really jive with what you have to say, who are really picking up your vibe.
Yeah.
And there are people who are picking up my vibe. That's fantastic. We want a diverse listener base, right? And we'll figure out maybe I don't know more accurately who our vibe is, but I want everyone to feel here and feel represented here anyway. So that's really critical.
Yeah.
I think your perspective on resilience and belonging, like I'm too deep in it. It's almost a challenge for me to introduce resilience and belonging to people. I keep having to come back to like, so what's the one-on-one? How do I have this story with folks? So your questions are better, right? Like you'd be a better person to introduce Alana because I'm just here like fanboying right now, and
It's the hair. It's always the
It's
hair.
the hair.
no, no, it's not.
Say that without voice crack.
No, I was told I was
Exactly.
actually part of this really amazing workshop last weekend. So this is still pretty fresh.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, that's true. So
Liam, you ask about it. I'm not saying anything. Go.
Wait, what? Say,
She
continue.
was a part of a workshop.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm listening. I was like, what am I asking?
Totally tuned in.
Because you're talking, I was like, I don't know. My bad. Continue. I apologize.
you're totally
I'm
good.
gonna put this away.
No, I mean it was honestly a really awesome workshop. It's run through UConn, so it's called the Campaign School.
Yeah.
I actually found out from the head of my internship. She spent a good bit of time in the campaigning world for Joe Courtney, one of the Connecticut federal representatives. And they apparently send a lot of the people that they have from there. They've sent them over the years, but this is my first time going. But we got to meet people kind of from all over the country that are either, just in public office. It was honestly majority like social workers, people in the social services realm. And it was just so rejuvenating and invigorating.
So what did you guys talk about, and what was the workshop even for?
So, and this is why I'm so mad I didn't bring my backpack. I had so much notes, so many notes. So it was really awesome. I mean, I say workshop, but I feel like it was almost more like
A discussion.
we had a lot of panelists that came on to talk that either are actively in public office, had a role in public office, what the campaign structure was like. We had this really, really crass, wonderfully honest and transparent woman run the first day, which this was her last year. So I almost wonder if she dialed up
She ran out of fucks.
She ran. That was, I think, literally what she said at one point. She's like, "What are they gonna do? Fire me?"
Fuck level
And I loved
zero.
it. Yeah. And in that moment, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
But no, I mean, she was just so unbelievably unfiltered.
Yeah. Well, fuck level zero means absolute authenticity.
Oh yeah.
Right. There's no, I don't care what folks think about me. I'm just going to say my
We
bit.
were talking about that earlier.
Absolutely, we were. We talk about it a lot. We talk about it
I
a
wish
fuckload.
I had a filter sometimes. I mean, it's even gotten to the point where, even with my partner, she laughs because I'm now at the point in my own personal journey where sometimes, not all the time, not most, sometimes, instead of saying the self-deprecating thing out loud, or asking the question about my own personal self-worth, I will stop and say, I was going to ask you this thing, but I realize I don't need to.
Okay. All right.
And that's
I
like
like
a
that.
little tidbit into my own personal journey
Sure, but-
Yeah.
of belonging, I guess.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There is something so valuable in finding your tribe. All right. And then this is a challenge my friend Liam is about to embark on, right? Because college is a unique time.
Yeah.
All right. And as much as we bash on it and, and question the value of this time relative to the cost.
Yeah.
Finding your tribe is easier in this environment,
Yeah.
right? You're in classes, right? Essentially, especially in your senior year, like you're choosing what you like. Everything you've had to take, you've taken, right? And you're just pursuing your interests. Ostensibly, that might not be the case for everyone, but that's the idea. And so finding people that you vibe with, right? A little bit easier in this environment. In the adult world, that opportunity is not there. And so what we were discussing is the importance of allergic behavior. Do you know what this is?
No.
So imagine you have a dating site. I know you have several.
I don't. I did.
Running
but-
joke.
Yeah. I wish.
And you put something, okay, let me tell you about my social media profile, which was very successful,
Yeah.
incidentally. I put on my profile a shot of me in a T-shirt making a silly gesture. And what am I wearing but a GW with a red line through his face?
Yeah.
Picture. That's what's on the T-shirt,
Yeah.
right? That's where I was at that point. And and so who am I going to rule out? I'm going to rule out folks who would support GW. All right? And you can, in terms of my dating, profile. So I came across folks who were more progressive in their leanings. Folks, tended liberal. And that's who I wanted to date.
Yep.
Now, I didn't do that intentionally, but I thought this was a good picture to
Yeah, of
represent
course.
me. And
But
it was one of a few.
But that's your group of people that you enjoyed.
But
You know what I
Liam,
mean?
that's the point. If I'm just unapologetically myself, right? If I'm not giving fucks, if I'm not trying to create this mass market version of myself to put out there, then I'm only going to attract the right folks.
Yeah.
I don't think ORBs is for every organization. It's not.
Yeah.
There are organizations who have their
Chick-fil-A.
own limitations around have their own limitations around enjoying and embracing what I feel that resilience and belonging offer. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
They're not my crowd.
And that's respectable. I think some people just don't have the self-respect to stand their ground nowadays. You know what I mean? I don't know. For me, I don't really care what people think about me.
Right.
A lot. And it kind of shocks people because I had this conversation last night with people. I really don't care. And these people that are really saying the same, they're like, yeah, I don't care. And then they come in my room at 3 a.m. being like, I'm worried everyone thinks of me in a
I
bad
care, Liam.
I care. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy if you're going to say that in front of people and then come to me and being like, you just so you know, I do care. I'm like, dude, I don't care. No offense.
But there's the other thing they do, right? They're like, I want you to like me. I want to be different. And then they'll do the same things.
Yep.
And you just will look at them point blank and say, no,
Yeah.
you're fake right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oh, Liam, how dare you hurt my feelings, right? But that's the allergic behavior. What is unfortunate about your paradigm here, right, is that you're practicing the allergic behavior, right? You're repelling people who don't share your values, but this is still your social group. And I find your situation enthralling.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't
because
it?
of how challenging
It's great.
it must be. To be you
I know.
in that dynamic, right? You've got 2 months to go. The improbability of finding a peer group to really be able to jam with is just there,
Yeah.
right? And so you're surrounded by folks who, right now, where they are developmentally, where they are in their social formation, right, is just not where you are.
Well, yeah, for me, I didn't have friends growing up at all. I
Right.
kind of started developing friends more so in the tail end of high school. And I started getting a big friend groups in college and stuff. But I always in high school only had 2 to 3 friends. I didn't really hang out with people, and I didn't have friends until high school, basically. So for me, it's when people are not in my realm of stuff, I don't really care to lose them, because it's just like, and people are like, and because I've had this discussion with Kiskin, the guy that does the podcast with me, several times, of like, and we've not argued, but we've disagreed, I should say, on my opinion about it, where it's like, well, this person did something really shitty. They cheated on their boyfriend. That's a person that I don't agree with their values. I'm not friends with them anymore. And he's like, well, we've been friends with them for 4 years and and I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't.
Oh yeah, that is some of what I remember you talking about to some extent, and sharing personal experience from that the friendship and relationships from that episode is. I mean, I think that's so valid though. I mean, everyone is going to have their own sets of values. Yeah. And everyone's going to be unique in that way. But I think for you being able to build upon that and know where you stand already, that does put you ahead of a lot of other people in your age group.
Oh, yeah. And I know that, not trying to be like, I'm the best guy out there and I know everything.
No, but you have a sense of self.
Yeah.
And that's really valid. What I find challenging there is the lack of opportunity that you're taking to really have meaningful. You're in the same phase of life with so many people here on campus. I bet this has happened to you. I bet you've got people in your friend group who will come up and talk to you, and they will have a deep and meaningful conversation with you one-on-one, and then get them in public, and they're just like, woo! Tipping cups and just like, this is the story. Yeah. Right.
That's literally all of them.
How fucking frustrating must that be?
Yeah, no, it's actually hilarious to me, because it's just like, I've had people come up to me and say like, oh, man, like, I really like this girl, and I don't know, but like, I'm talking to these 5 other girls, but I really like this girl, but I don't want to lose the others. And I'm like, dude, that's hilarious. I don't care. Like, you're an asshole. And I just called. I literally said to his face, like, you're an asshole. He's like, what? I'm like, what do you mean what? Like, you're literally a prick. He's like, I don't know. And I told him, like, I said to him, like, you're gonna stop talking to that girl. He's like, why? I said, because if either you stop talking to her, because this is a very nice, sweet girl, or I'm going to just say something, because personally, I can't sit there and watch you try to be a piece of shit and fuck around. Right. It's like, fuck around and find out, dude. And that's fine. And he cut it off with the 5 other girls and is trying his best with this person. And then the next week after we talked about that, he does the same shit again. And I'm like, all right, man, I just know your values. And it's like, he's like, I don't want you to think of me different. It's like, dude, I don't think you're different. I just think of you how you actually are. It's not different. Yeah. It's the same way I've seen you from the start. I just know who you are now.
I feel like in those situations too, it's like, it's not even necessarily just values, but patterns of behavior.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, especially with like, at least from my perspective, you're very much talking about like toxic masculinity of like kind of like you mentioned with like the flip and go, woo! Like, that bro-y mentality is very much like, nah, I gotta get like, the most notches under my belt, the most notches under the bed that I can, right? And, in the end, that's not how it...
I've never been like that ever growing up with girls or guys being like, yeah, man, listen, babe, I like you and all, but it's not gonna work out. I gotta see all the fish in the sea. Yeah. It's like, I'm like, it doesn't. And like, I literally was at the bar last night. I don't drink, but I was at the bar because my friend asked me to go, and I was like, sure, I'll go with you. And she's friends with these frat guys, which is fine. But then all these frat guys start coming around me, and I'm just like, this is not my scene.
The energy involved.
Just that energy I felt with it, and I'm just like...
I mean, they weren't just frat guys. These are guys right? Like, their behavior speaks for them.
Oh, I know.
Joining a frat isn't the condemnation itself. It's the promiscuity, the perpetual drunkenness.
It's
perhaps,
the fact that like, she doesn't know that I know a lot about people, just because I know a lot of people and people tell me whatever. But I knew like half the people that were sitting around talking to me, and they're like, my name's Ryan. I was like, I already know who you are, dude. And like I already know who you are without even meeting you, because I've heard about you. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. He come up to me, he's like, my name's Ryan. I'm like, nice. Like, literally, I was just like, that's cool, man. He's like, what's your name? I was like, Liam. He's like, yeah, man, how you been? And I'm like, you seen any girls tonight? And I'm like, yeah, man, me, myself, and I in the mirror. That's the only person I'm after. Like leave me alone. and I just don't care. Those are the conversations I'm so disinterested in. Any guy that comes up to me is like, yeah, man, like, do you see all these girls? I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't care. I'm going to play some pool. Like, I just want to play pool and just not be bothered by, like, such meaningless conversations.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel they're so meaningless to me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a lot lately, I feel like, you know, I've had to distance myself from a lot of friendships throughout my life, you know, both in young adulthood and now into adulthood.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, a lot of it kind of comes back to, you know, I don't know, at least I've kind of looked at it for my own life in the sense of like collecting wholesomes,
yeah.
you know, and obviously at this point in your life, you know, at this age, the age bracket that you are in, the community that you're in on campus, I mean, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but
Yeah.
I think it's still something that the more that I've sought it out, the more it's found me, you know, and I think you have a lot of the right ideology in that sense where like you're not looking for surface level conversations.
Yeah.
You're not looking for just someone who's going to be talking to you about the Beebs and like, you
Yeah.
know, just small talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I hate small talk.
Yeah.
I'm very,
Because it's surface.
yeah, I'm so direct.
Yeah.
I'm a very direct person because my friends are like, I'm trying to get to a point of a conversation and and then like some of my friends are like start throwing small stuff like, how's your day? I'm like, dude, what did you do? Like,
Right.
why are you doing this?
Right.
And they're like, what? He's like, well, you're not going to ask me what day was? I was like, I already know what you did today. I heard about it from someone else. It's like, why do I already know. And I'll be honest, you don't care how my day was, like, in genuinely, because I know. So now you're trying to like save yourself in this conversation.
You know, we bullshit every Friday morning.
Yeah.
We get together, and it's, you know, and I say bullshit like I'm legitimately hearing and listening to and responding to.
Yeah.
And then we'll get onto the topic of what your plans are for the future, dude. You brighten up so much.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you.
Because that's like the conversation I want to have with people,
Right.
But people don't want to have.
They're not
And
ready for it.
It's so. It was like last night. Someone's like, "What's your 3 goals in life?" Literally asked me that, and
this was at the bar.
no, this was at my dorm
For
when
you.
when I got back. Like, this was one of the questions I was asked. It was me and like 2 other people, my roommates, and like one person said, "Get better at video games, get my degree, make money." The other guy was like, "Make money, get an internship here, and like do that." And I said, "I want kids, I want a wife, I want a house." And they're like, well, let's group that in one thing. And I was like, why is that grouped in one thing? And they're like, give me 2 others. Like, those are my 3 goals. They're like, dude, like, you're not excited about your career. You're not excited about
Right.
making money. I'm like, I don't care, dude. I'm not a money guy. I don't I'm not worried. And he's like, and one person starts debating. He's like, well, kids are like, they're financially like, it's like $18,000 a year. I'm like, dude, I'll figure it out. And they're like, you can't say you figure it out. I was like, dude, if I have a kid, I'm wanting the kid. And I'll figure it out. I don't. It's they're not a paycheck to me. They're like, it's
Liam, you are this. I can't say it enough, man. And I'm not one to give advice. You're swimming in the wrong pool.
Oh, I know.
What
I mean, yeah.
because these guys legitimately, they are trying. That might be close to the highest level, right? Intimate conversation that they can have with another man. Like, what are your 3 goals? You may have to shepherd them along if they matter to you in any way, shape, or form, or even if there's the potential for them mattering to you, to say, are you trying to have a meaningful conversation with me right now?
Yeah.
Because let's just structure this completely differently.
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing right now that you're passionate about?
Yeah.
And just put it to them just like that. And maybe they'll be stunned. Take them off the hot seat.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about mine. And lay out your fucking plan for the Lounging Around Hub and talk about all the intricacies of what the work that you've already put in, how you've planned it out, what it's going to be in the future, what it's going to look like, the topics you're going to discuss, how you're going to do it, and the regular schedule on it, right? They'll shit themselves. And they will get a sense of what talking like an adult is.
Yeah.
All right? But they haven't been shown that, Liam.
No.
Right? I can't practice a behavior that I'm unaware exists.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's such arbitrary, like, feelings of, like, well, my primary thing is I want to feel like I'm having fun. I want to feel like I'm living this life. It's like, dude, I'm gonna live my life. It's not. I don't have to say it to say that I'm gonna be happy and to do the things I want to do. I'm not gonna be like, well, my first goal is to be happy. That's gonna come with the other goals. The other goals are more meaningful. Of like, yeah, I want to have kids. I want to meet my future wife one day. That's what I want to do. You kidding me? And that and all the joy is gonna be in there. You know, why do I have to say it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
I mean, I feel like the human experience overall too isn't all just about being happy either.
Yeah.
I mean, just like how you and I were talking about just like hard times, like you learn from all of it, but you know, even if you're happy a majority of the time, there's still going to be random bullshit flying at you from every direction.
exactly.
Like no matter who you are, no matter what lifestyle you live, what career you have, like there's always going to be shit.
Yeah.
And it's what you do with it that matters.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the people that are only focused on, oh, I want to be happy, like you said, like they're not looking beyond the surface.
No.
I think people get confused with happy.
Yeah.
It's not a destination. Happy is an emotion, just like all the other emotions, right? And there's no reason to put happy on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, maybe you want to feel happy. You want to feel joyful most of the time. Okay, great. What does that look like? Right? And so the real job, if you want to be happy, right? That comes down to identifying who you are and doing the work
That makes you happy.
to forge that you into as crystalline, as polished a form as you can.
Yeah.
Right? So that you are only surrounded by people who share values with you. That you are only in practice around doing the things that matter to you. Right? And that you're operating at zero fucks because there's no one around to impress. Everyone there, everything in your world, this is what I'm working for. Everything in my world is a resonance of me. And not because I'm so great, but because of the way that I value the world, the way that I want to show up, right? Bringing you on, partnering with you. These are classic practices around me creating the world that I want to live in. Period.
Yeah. And like you guys talk about like your definitions of resilience and belonging. Mine's more of like a life kind of thing. Like there's going to be people that are going to be in your way, the resilience part, that are going to like push you down, try to rub away the parts of you and try to like make you this shell of what you are.
Yeah, dim your light.
Dim your light a lot. And like really, but the big thing is to be resilient and to kind of build those scars because the damage is going to be there. You're never not going to have scars when these people are going to do that. But to be resilient enough to take the damage from that, grow, and then find where you actually belong. And find like the people that belong to you and the goals that belong to you, because all the other stuff is just going to happen. People are going to scrape up against you, try to ruin it and all that stuff. But eventually you're going to find what's belonging for you. And that's fine. And eventually those scars will heal, they'll fade, but they're still going to be there. But it'll be to a point where it's like you can laugh one day with the people that you've been with and be like, I can't believe I did that. But hey, I'm here now and I found my belonging. And that's my resilience and belonging definition. So
Pumbaa from The Lion King.
God.
Home is where your rump rests. No, really, right?
Hakuna Matata. Like,
Hakuna Matata. That's real.
Yeah.
Right there. It's where I am. I foster belonging around me, and that's exactly what I hear you saying.
Yep.
Right, and it. Sorry for evoking Disney.
Means no worries. Yeah. That's gonna be stuck in my head for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about
I want a voicemail cover of you being Simba singing that. That's what I really want to. That was beautiful.
I'm just thinking about all the like.
I did a cappella in college.
All the like scenes from The Lion King now, just like.
Yeah.
And I'm eating bugs and like this.
I was gonna say, yeah, but I mean, honestly, Pumbaa really was living the life.
Yeah,
he absolutely was
a disgusting life.
But then he found someone.
Yeah.
Right. Someone came into his life that he wanted to support and walk along with, and so he was right there by Simba's side at the end of things.
Yeah.
Easter egg, a cappella in college. Look at you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big. I mean, like I said, I've done performing and improv out in Worcester and Boston for a while, for a few years. A cappella in college, I might actually be getting into a cappella at the Hartford campus.
Nice.
Not yet. I'm still waiting to get set up with the people there too. But yeah, no, that's honestly, I think music and food.
Right.
Even, I mean, unless, you're not someone who really values food beyond nutrition, but I think overall those are they're not only love languages, but they really are things that bring us together.
Totally.
And I feel like it's why I've always been really passionate for music too.
So we're going to probably wrap up very soon because I do have to leave to go home for spring break very soon.
Nonsense.
Oh, that's
We've got
fun.
at least 3 more hours of podcasting to go. No, but Alana, along the lines of you leaving your notes wherever, I would be honored to have you back on.
Yeah.
And you can tell us more about the camp and everything else that's going on with you, because I'm stoked. And,
Sure.
Yeah, so before we end though, rapid fire questions.
oh, let's go.
One piece of advice you would give to leaderships about resilience.
To leadership specifically?
To leaders about resilience.
To leaders about resilience. Dang. So honestly, it's funny that you say that you ask a question like that, since in me doing the campaign school stuff last week, I feel like that was a really big question for all of us that were there.
Yeah.
And a lot of it really was just kind of like what we've even been talking about, just when it comes to the relationship building that we have. I mean,
the networking.
Yeah, the networking. And it's also not even just networking, but and again, it just, I feel like a lot of it is the same playbook over and over again, just in different facets of my life.
Yeah.
Because literally so many of these panelists, when they were asked questions about their time in office, it all came back to like, well, what happened? Well, how did you do it? Well, how did you win? And so many of these people, they didn't just go and say, oh, I'm going to build a campaign, and like went and did it and went through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then won. They had moments of loss where they lost the campaign or like had to drop out for some reason or another. And they all unanimously, for whatever their independent, unique reasons were, said they learned more from the losses that they had in their campaigns. And that also built them up, had them learn the resources, the pitfalls, the shortcomings that they had in that campaign that they ran, that they lost, to then go back, try it all again. I hate to say the whole individual pick you up by your bootstraps, because I honestly hate that saying. But
Thank you.
but at the same time, like that was what they said.
They got back up, but they didn't get back up alone.
Yes.
And that none of this activity and none of this success and none of this story has to do with an individual overcoming some faceless challenge, right? This is a story of people.
It is.
And I would say any campaign, and that's what fascinates me about it, right? I have no desire for political office, but to just have a team of people who are so galvanized in their faith that you will lead them to, I don't know, whatever promised destination, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But that's the story of belonging.
It is.
So what's a simple action anyone could take to foster belonging today?
God, I mean, get involved in your community, whatever that looks like for you, wherever you're located. I mean, just learn what you have around you and take advantage of what you can now. Now, because we don't know what tomorrow brings.
Yep. And then what's a book, tool, or practice you have in your daily life that helps, like you?
Good self-care question.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about, if I may, right? So my pillars of self-care are bite, bound, and breathe, right? Bite, so it's everything you consume, right? Bound being how you self-express, right? So you're talking about your foodieism. You were talking about your a cappella pursuits, right? Both future and past. Breathe. We haven't spoke a lot about how you rest, right? That's not a piece of what you've discussed, but there I heard, right, just in unstructured conversation about your biting and your breathing. So, you did mention the puppies. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're probably the biggest piece for me. I mean, even so right now I'm part of mindfulness pilot. They're going to be doing research on us for bachelor's and master's level students too, and it's kind of similar.
Sweet.
So I feel like it's been something that's come up for me a lot is, where are the moments where you're finding places of peace and calm and presence? And I think for me, the easiest way to do that has just been with my animals.
Right.
I mean, hell, they're the biggest vibe check of all.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they can sense energy in a way that I really feel like humans never will.
Yeah.
I can smell your cortisol.
Yes.
If dogs could say that, right? Like,
Oh.
like get me your
Like the dogs from Up.
Yeah,
I
right,
wish
right.
I wish will exist one day, but maybe I don't. I don't know.
I think that's a yesterday invention, honestly.
Yeah.
That exists somewhere. Fantastic. Are those the
Those are that's it right
I
now.
want to thank you so much.
Yeah.
God, what a privilege to have you on.
Hey, it's been a pleasure to be here.
I know it has. That's why you want to come back.
Yeah.
Liam, great job, man. I like the rapid fire at the end. That was
Thank you.
outstanding.
Thank you. That's the cast.
Is that the cast?
That's the cast. All right. Goodbye.